Recently on the Wayspotters podcast, you heard Mr. Chris say...
And I'm gonna take a deep breath before I say this, but we are recommending that people don't nominate something that will be light ship only. Oh, that hurt. So until it's fixed. Hello, agents, trainers, keepers, pilots, hunters, eighth wallers, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Welcome to episode 104 of the Wayspotters podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping you become a better wayfinder. Episode 104 is the final episode of season 2 of Wayspotters, which is brought to you by the good people of the Pokémon Professor Network. Today is Friday, January 12th. 2024. With me as always is Jamal, and if you were paying attention last week and you were watching this on the YouTube, you see we have a special guest this week, Lachlan. How's it going, boys?
Ahoy.
It's going well. It's a rainy Friday afternoon in Charlotte, North Carolina, and could potentially be a stormy weekend in good old Charlotte, North Carolina. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I'm out of bed for the first time in like a week. I went back to work yesterday, but yeah, from Saturday to Wednesday, I was just bedridden. It was brutal.
Yeah, I was going to say you sound better. The end of the show last week, I could tell you were struggling. I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and end this. He's going to keel over on me.
Yeah, it was a bit rough, and we appreciate Lachlan getting up so early, man. How you doing, man?
Good. It's a rainy Saturday morning here in Brisbane.
This is really exciting.
Jamal and I have the same climate.
Yeah, I know, right?
Mine's humid and his is cold.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
This is really exciting. This is every Wayfarer, every Wayspotter that has ever existed is on this podcast right now. So it's a kind of a cornerstone moment for all of us, and I'm excited. Really happy to have you back, Lachlan. I remember when you went into retirement, it was very sad, and then Chris came on, and then you decided to come out of retirement only for guest spots. And then you pretty much took over the Waylords podcast. And now you are a co-host of your own show on Starpiece. So it's really happy to have you. And we've got representation from season 1, season 2, and now we're getting ready to go into season 3.
And our mystery fourth guest is
I know,
Jamal's cat.
Yes,
Mr.
Milo, who just went outside, who's probably going to be scratching at the door any minute to come back in. So we'll see.
We'll see if my kitten Monty wants to make an appearance this week too. So
yeah,
he likes to jump on the back of my chair.
So Chris, the last 2 weeks, go ahead, Lachlan. I was going to say the last 2 weeks we haven't had any Wayfarer news. I'm wondering, do we have any this week?
No.
Still
Still not.
Lachlan, when's the last time you heard Testone's voice? How about right now?
And now, the latest Niantic news from the Wayspotters podcast, presented by the Pokémon Professor Network.
Womp womp. Nothing.
Womp womp.
There's a couple pieces on the forum and on Reddit that I want to dig into, but there's nothing that I feel comfortable reporting news-wise. Oh, and you heard the drop at the beginning of the show. That issue is still not fixed. So be careful with your nominations.
I'm kind of glad it's not fixed because I did all that production stuff to get that ready, and then it would have been a bummer if I couldn't use it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but I think the real news is we got Lachlan back on Wayspotters, man. Lachlan, tell us what you've been up to since the last time we heard from you.
So I got my shit together, basically.
Okay.
Spent the last 11 months just working on myself a little bit, which is why a weekly show didn't really fit in anymore, sadly, among other reasons. So doing Starpiece over on GoCast podcast, where we maybe record once a month. It's the ideal situation. And that's just basically GoCast's interview show. So Kyle starts to have his own life. So it's just Chris and I interviewing some of the greatest hits of the wider Pokemon community for those who are more Pokemon inclined. So we started off with cricket, which, as I said to Chris, was quite fortuitous because it was the last guest I recorded with you, Jamal, over here.
Yes, it was. That's right.
So that was a nice, weird full circle moment. We've had Ian Waterfall on, who obviously has also been on Wayspotters. Good friend of the show. We've had Hamtaro. Everyone loves Hamtaro. Or, as most people call it, the host of As the Pokeball Turns. And we have recently recorded with the webmaster of Bulba Garden, or as most people know it, Bulbapedia. So that's going to be an interesting conversation to come out soon. And that then led to me being invited on the Bulbapedia end of year roundup, which ended up being a 5.5 hour long video podcast. So, forewarning, the Australian multiplier will have to be in effect today. So if you're looking for a 60-minute show, I'm sorry, I'm here. So add the Australian multiplier onto the runtime.
And I also feel sorry for whoever had to edit that. Damn.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you'll find it wasn't edited. It was just a live stream. Nice and easy.
Okay, that's not bad then.
And not to dig too much into your personal business, Lachlan, but since the last time we heard from you on Wayspotters, you graduated uni. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm now no longer a student. I'm just unemployed.
Very nice. Well, it's good to have you back.
About a month ago today, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I was watching it on the live stream, and it was like a weird time here. And then I was trying to get a screenshot of you, but I ended up getting somebody else, and I sent it to you. So I was like,
"Did you enjoy the protests that happened in the middle of it?"
Yeah, very interesting. Graduations are always so interesting. Like something always happens, and then like 30 minutes later, like nobody cares about it. So it's just really, really weird. It's really weird. Now, have you seen snow yet, Lachlan?
What snow?
Yeah, okay.
Snow business.
So you need to go visit Chris. Chris, from time to time, has an abundance of snow. How much snow do you have on the ground right now, Chris?
Not much, but I was telling Lachlan right before you came back and we started recording that we might get 10 centimeters today. We might get 40 centimeters today. So we might get like a foot. We might get 6 feet. I don't know. Nobody really knows.
Is that going to be just regular snow or is that going to be lake effect?
I think this is regular. We got about 2 or 3 inches of lake effect the other day, and it just kind of clumped and melted. So,
okay,
nice. It's looking snowy, but there's not much on the ground right now.
Okay. And Lachlan, what's the temperature in Brisbane right now? Yeah, about that much. What's the temperature? So it's rainy, but what's the temperature?
In which units? In freedom or regular?
We'll go Celsius. Since 2 out of the 3 people on the podcast today fancy the Celsius.
To be fair, most of the world
25 currently.
Today. It's
25 degrees,
and it's not even 7 a.m.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Chris is like, ooh, that's more.
But tops of 32 today.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's not bad.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Chris, take it away. What do you got for us?
All right. So let's jump into topic number 1.
Topic number 1.
If we had all 3 of us here, we could do a quick, and I say quick, and I know it won't be quick, recap of season 2. Season 2, I don't know, pretty close to today, started on January 15th, 2023 with episode 53, Forgotten Child of Niantic. Do you guys remember that one?
Yep, I do.
Good episode.
Well, yes. That was about a year ago, was it?
Yeah.
A year ago on Sunday or Saturday. Sunday. So time's up. They're lined up pretty good with the start of season 2 and season 3. Lachlan's last episode would end up being February 19th, 2023, which is episode 58, The Agent and the Prince.
That was with Prince P-Dub and Agent X. I remember that one. Yeah.
It was, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I joined shortly after on episode 59, Hello and Goodbye. That was right. I believe that one aired. We recorded it before and it aired right after my birthday.
Didn't you technically join on a special broadcast?
Oh, that's right.
Episode
You have a better memory
44.
than I do.
Episode 44. That was when we found you and brought you on. But what a lot of people don't know is due to the magic of podcasting, Lachlan's last episode was actually recorded about 15 to 30 days prior to that. We put Lachlan 3 or 4 episodes in the can, and then we just rolled them out one after one, but no one knew that they weren't recorded sequentially. I think that was what we did. 3 or 4, we put them in the can, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Magic of behind
5.
the scenes.
But then 5 got 5 disappeared.
Yeah. It did.
Which would
That was
62.
during. Yeah, that was my that was when I was going through some I lost an entire laptop and everything got corrupted and I was scrambling and no one knew it, and Ken Pescator helped me dig through the cloud and dig out as much stuff as I could, but we were able to piece a bunch of stuff back together. So that was a very scary time, and that's when I bought the trusty MacBook that I have right now, and so I switched from PC to Mac, and we've been moving pretty smoothly since then.
Nice. Yeah, I need to get my other laptop fixed so I can stop trying to video edit on this tiny little work thing that they've given me for work. It's terrible. It's the last video episode took 8.5 hours to export.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
That's miserable. That is miserable.
Oh yeah, it's not fun. Not fun for an hour and a half, hour and 20-minute episode. 8.5 hours is terrible.
Yeah.
Speaking of YouTube, our first YouTube upload was episode 64, helping you make better submissions.
That was fun. So you know what's funny about that, Chris? Here's what's funny about that. What nobody knows this except for me, you, and one other person. That was actually not our first video episode. It was actually the episode before, but we chose not to air it. Remember?
That's true. Yes.
So we actually did have a YouTube episode ready to go, and it was kind of like, no, we'll just kind of make 64 that episode, and we just kind of decided to leave that one alone. So that was that.
We'll get to, you'll maybe be able to figure out why in a minute. So there we had. Wayspotters had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 guests in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them appeared together. Most of them appeared individually. Some were more controversial than others. Episode 54 was the episode with Cricket.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Still one of my favorite episodes of all time. She's an amazing person. I really wanted to meet her at GoFest in New York, but it just kind of never happened.
You missed her by like 8 hours. When you had got there, we had a whole like creators little meet and greet in the Bryant Park Square area, and then like she like took off to another part of the city, so you just barely missed her. Yeah, unofficial meetup.
You know,
yeah,
everyone just sort of showed up at the same park at the same time, and it just happened to be a coincidence. NYPD, if you're listening.
Yes, that's. Oh, NYPD they came. I wasn't there when the police showed up, but that was quite the scene, from what I understand from the pictures I saw on Twitter. That was quite the event. Quite the event.
Oh, that's crazy. I still can't believe that happened. Episode 56 was Wayfarer Ambassador Quartz Leo. Episode 57 was Wayfarer Ambassador Testone, and he is actually on one of our YouTube only videos, where you and him kind of sat through and walked through the Wayfarer plugins.
Yep, the plugins.
We'll have to have him back on after they've sorted out all the stuff for the new UI.
Yeah,
new flow. Right. Episode 58 was Agent X and Prince Pidove. And 62 was Anthony and Kenneth from Foundry 6. So we had them on to talk about A Realm.
Yes, and remember, we've been talking to Anthony kind of behind the scenes,
still
and
in early access. Fingers
crossed. He's gonna come back on, or at least record a spot for us and give us an update on what they have going on over there. We just haven't had a time to kind of get him sat down and have him do 5 or 10 minutes. But he's got some good updates on what's going on with A-Realm and Foundry 6. So we look forward to bringing that to everybody in Season 3. Lachlan, are you playing A-Realm? Have you played that?
It's sitting on there, sitting on my phone. Where is it?
I've logged in a few times. It's like completely different than it was when they first launched it.
Oh,
like
it is.
It's a better different, but it's
yeah.
Yep, it's definitely a better different, but
yep.
Who was 63? Remember
63?
who we had on for 63? That was oh wait, hold on, I remember. It was Pokey AK.
Yeah, it was Pokey AK. Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's right. Yeah. There might have been a little bit of chatter about that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Then, after that episode, we didn't have a guest for a while, which was kind of weird. It worked out that we were just kind of like, maybe we'll stick to ourselves for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll just kind of do our own thing, and then I think our next guest after that though was like cream of the crop. One of my favorite people to talk to. Very, very, very favorite. Friend of the show, Woodwell's Wolf, who put on a master class.
I didn't know you had your wife on as a guest, Jamal.
Well, yeah, she's my favorite non-Pokemon person. And Lachlan, we had Woodwell's Wolf on. I think it was episode 9 in season 1. Remember that? We talked about OSM, and then he kind of came on and talked about the evolution of it. Do you remember that from season 1, episode 9? Good old Daniel. I feel like I can call him Daniel because he told me I could. Everybody else has to call him Wood or Woodwoes or whatever, but he told me I could call him Daniel, so I was pretty honored. So that was a fun show. Whenever he comes on, I always feel like I leave a little bit smarter because he knows everything about OSM. And if we had EX raids in Pokemon Go right now, he'd be able to tell you how to turn your park into something that had EX raids. So that was pretty interesting.
That was episode 10.
That's the closest thing Chris probably had to use this week was they actually removed all the assets for EX raids out of the game. So they
did.
Yeah.
They did.
That's
I was just gonna mention that, but then some people get a little upset when I mention stuff that's Pokemon Go only. So I just kind of leave that to the Pogo guys. But
that's more OSM linked. So,
and that makes me sad.
We'll see a lot less random parks at people's houses. That's for sure.
True.
Yeah.
That makes me sad because I was hoping that someday EX raids would come back and. That was a great way to trigger best friends with someone who wouldn't open your gift. I love that little feature. Remember that feature? You'd send them the EX raid.
Shame buying someone a ticket doesn't have the same effect of an interaction.
Yeah, I know. It should. I'll spend $1 to get
Jamal,
my 200,000.
Why are these people not opening my gift? Let me just send $1 to them every week.
Niantic can make a fortune doing that.
Yeah, they really could. It's funny, the gym that's right by my house is still labeled as an EX raid gym, so I don't know if they're going to change that at some point. But anyway,
probably the next update.
The raid pass is gone, so
raid pass.
They still use the EX raid gym tag when it came to elite raid gyms. So
yes.
Who knows? Well, I guess Niantic knows, but
yeah,
who knows?
Like I've said this before, I say it again. I'm not too sure that they do.
I'm just impressed that they finally learned how to depreciate an old asset because as a company there's so much stuff in there that like the Master Ball, sorry, non-Pokemon Go people, but the Master Ball assets had been sitting in the game since day 1 2016, and there is I think 2 unused lure modules as well, and I'm like, you gonna use them?
Yeah.
And then they add new lure modules and they don't just replace the existing lure modules. I'm like, what's your plan here?
I'm convinced that the people who created half this stuff no longer work for them anymore, so they just don't have no idea it exists.
Yes. I can give
behind that stuff. I would say 95% of it. And there's probably some person who's going through the code right now being like, oh my goodness, why is this still here? What was this for?
And then someone else just like, don't delete it. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't want to mess anything else up. If you do that, the shiny rock ruff won't turn on. So don't do that.
Oh, God. Yeah, don't even get me started on rock ruff.
Don't talk about Australia, Jamal.
Yeah. Well,
Episode 89 was Little Pound Cake.
that
That was our.
that was a great
crazy.
episode.
That was
Love
a great
that
episode.
Love that episode. I just love Neckbeard. So I think, Chris, that was around the time where we started to like dig into X or Twitter or whatever we're calling it, and started actively responding to people and like, hey, did you mean what you said? They're like, yeah. You want to come say it on Wayspotters? They're like, sure. Like, come on. All right. Friday, sending you a link. You're coming on the podcast. And it worked out well. Between episode 89, anytime you have somebody who's a legitimate doctor, a PhD, who does Wayfair and is really smart, really intuitive, and nominates and reviews as much as we do, is really cool, because it's like, I knew I was a nerd, but now it's official that I'm a nerd. So that was a really, really fun podcast to do. And it was even funner to go back and edit and then watch it, the edit that you did. So that was cool. That was back in the days, Chris, when you were experimenting with all the banners and the logos and frying your motherboards and taking 8 hours to render. So those are the good old days.
I want to get back to that in season 3, but I can't with this laptop. I can't. So,
and then we had, what was that? Episode 91.
Yep. Scrawny Mouth. We had Scrawny Mouth on for the Wayfair Discussion Discord's birthday.
Yeah.
That was a good episode.
That was a good episode. I like Scrawny Meowth. And what's funny is I see a lot of his nominations because my hometown location is very near where he lives. So remember, it's just funny. I don't know if this made it on the air, but this was in the Discord. Scrawny Meowth, I saw something that was near him that I had voted on, and I screenshotted it, and I'm like, hey, this is near you. You should go check it out if it gets approved. And he goes, I sure hope so. It's my nomination. And I'm like, it's pretty cool. I'm like, it's actually a pretty decent nomination. So that worked out well. Lachlan, did you participate in any of the festivities for the WDD's birthday? Were you, or was that when you were in the hot and heavy in school? Okay. I wasn't sure with the timing if you had classes going on then or not, but Scrawny Meowth, we now know, is kind of the brains behind a lot of the puzzles and games and the contests they have there. And he keeps a spreadsheet much like Chris. So we've got more nerdage going on and keeps track of everybody's stats and everything. So it was really cool to have Scrawny Meowth on for episode 91.
So I cleaned up speaking of spreadsheets, I cleaned up my spreadsheet the other day and I tweeted out my edit stats and Tib liked it. So
I saw that.
He's paying attention.
I know. I tweeted something on New Year's Eve and he liked it also. And I was like, oh, okay, he is paying attention. Nice. Yeah. I sent him a DM that he hasn't answered, but he liked my other tweet. So we'll see.
Unless they've redirected their AI attentions to Twitter.
Ooh. Hadn't thought about that. What's this AI you speak of, Lachlan? It sounds like you've been paying attention to Wayfair.
And clearly John Hankey is an artificial intelligence.
Well, we were openly corrected. We said AI, and we got a message from Niantic that said, actually, it's machine learning. I was
machine learning, yes.
Yeah, they corrected us. They were like, we prefer you to say machine learning. And I'm like, okay. I see where you're going with that. All right, Chris, where does that take us to?
The machine is artificially learning, so it has its own artificial intelligence.
Right. Yes. It's all semantics. Words matter.
It's like how all of those robot vacuum cleaners are now advertising. Like all these robot vacuum cleaners that keep advertising themselves as now artificial intelligence powered. I'm like, it's just an algorithm. You can't just slap AI on the box.
It learned that if you turn it on in the middle of the room, it knows how many paces to the wall, and it figured out the distance. So, but it's AI, it's machine learning.
Yep.
So, Chris, that brings us to episode 94. Tell us about that one.
So, episode 94 was Sea Princess and Ellie Just Trying reached out to us after months of us saying, "Hey, ambassadors, do you want to come on the show? You want to come on the show?" And they're like, "Hey, we'll come on for this week's show." And it didn't even dawn on me that they were like very specific about when they wanted to come on. Why? Well, and then they released the new UI flow, and I was like, "Wow, this is a coincidence." And Team Presses is like, "Oh, sweet summer child." No, it's not. And I was like, "Oh, I see what you've done here."
Yep.
It completely went over my head.
Yep.
I thought that was hilarious, but that was a really good episode.
It was a
Having the
good
two of them
episode.
on was really good. It was a good
You know,
conversation.
I enjoy all of my conversations with Sea Princess. Most of the time, as Lachlan knows, they end up with her not upset with me, but disappointed in me. That's usually how it goes. And I'm okay with that. I wouldn't say it's a love-hate relationship. It's a love-love relationship, but I think that she gets disappointed in me more than I get disappointed in myself. And every now and then I surprise her. But most times she's just kind of like putting her head down and, you know, the emoji, the kind of face palm. Because everybody knows I like to push the limits. I like to do things like this. I don't really play by the rules unless I absolutely have to. And Sea Princess strikes me very much as a rule follower. And she likes everything to go in a certain order. And I respect that. I just like a little bit more chaos. I wouldn't say I'm Captain Chaos, but I do like chaos. I like to do things just to see what the reaction is going to be. I'll nominate something that I know is Cole. Well, let me be careful with my words here. I'll nominate something. I'll nominate something that is on the line that I think is good, but majority of people may not think is good, just to see what the community is going to say. And in Charlotte, the community likes it, and they like when I'm cutesy with my words and I do this, that, and the other. So yes, that's Sea Princess. So that was a really good episode, and it was really cool to talk to Ellie Just Trying. Love the Scottish accent, love her frame of mind and the way she thinks about it. And I kept my promise, and I've been on the forums a lot more since the last time that we talked to her. So I kept that up.
That's true. That is true. That's something we both need to keep up in the next year in season 3.
Yep.
For sure. But yeah, that was a really good conversation. And Ellie does a really, really good job on the forums, kind of keeping people in line.
And I don't know
when the forums.
I don't know when she sleeps. And it might be just the time difference that she's 5-6 hours ahead of the US, because it seems like whenever somebody in the US is starting some trouble on the forum, she sees it. Like the minute it's posted, and she's got a retort, like well-written retort, ready to go. Almost like she knew what they were going to post.
Yeah, that's creepy. A little creepy. Yep. But she did a really good job.
Yep. Lachlan, I know you've been away from Wayfair for a minute, although I did see you've been nominating a lot. Have you been following what's going on with the forums recently?
They still exist?
Yes, that's the answer I thought you'd get. And normally that's my response. Oh, there's forums? Yes, there's forums. So you should jump back in. I think people would remember you fondly, and go in there and nominate a little free library on a road verge and see if you can burn the world down again. So
what's a road verge? Unironically. You and your American slang, what's next? You're gonna say sidewalk instead of footpath?
Yes, I'm going to say sidewalk instead of footpath. You guys really call it a footpath?
Do a whole show on the differences there.
We could do a whole show on what a real gazebo looks like versus an Australian gazebo. We could do an entire show on that. An entire show.
Yeah, you could.
I think you're describing a rotunda, Jamal, not an Australian gazebo.
All right. When this show drops, I think I'm going to tweet out what I believe a gazebo is, and then you can retweet it with what you believe a gazebo is, and we'll go from there.
Quote repost, I think is the technical term these days.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it's X. It's not retweet anymore. To repost. Like I said, I'm going to
tweeting. It's zeeting. Thank you very much.
Is that what it is? Zeeting? I'm going to keep calling it Twitter until Elon Musk agrees to come on the show.
That's what Elon posted originally.
Yeah. When Elon agrees to come on the show, I'll start calling it X primarily. But until then, I'll continue to call it both.
See, Elon probably won't come on the show until you start uploading the video versions of the show entirely to Twitter.
I see you can do that now. I don't know how I feel
Yeah.
about that just yet.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Oh, maybe we'll reach out to their sponsorship department and see what they have to say, and then we'll go from there. So, speaking of sponsorship departments and all of that, Chris, do you have some analytics for season 2?
I do. So we had one more guest. Let's not forget about Elf from Space.
Oh, that's right.
One of the moderators of the good Facebook group, not the toxic Facebook group. Apologies to anybody from that other group if you're listening.
Yeah.
Not really. Which was also a really, really good episode.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was one of those that we were good and we talked about everything we wanted to talk about on the show and not before or after. We didn't waste anything.
Yes.
Really good show.
That's true. Yeah. Analytics from season 2. Some of the stuff is going to surprise you. Season 2 had 22,820 downloads as of late last night when I was putting together these numbers. So it might be a little bit higher now. But 22,820 for a whole season, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it's really good.
Anybody want to guess what the top downloaded episode of season 2 was? Anybody want to guess? I bet you the answer will surprise you. No, it won't. It was Pokémon.
Yeah. People are still downloading that show. I look at the numbers. Yep. People are still going back and downloading that show. So, and we haven't, after we aired it, we haven't spoken of it at all. We just kind of let it go. We haven't talked one word about it until now, but people are still going back and listening to that show. So yeah, that's one of those.
I think we've jokingly referenced it a couple of times, but like not seriously. It's got 2,091 downloads.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really crazy.
And that was, for reference, the one that we were considering making our first YouTube episode, but we decided against it and went with episode 64.
Yeah. Fun fact, I still have the video of that downloaded.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So at some point, someday, we could drop that in the YouTube feed and not say anything and just see what happens. So it's still there. I haven't deleted it. It's still in the cloud. So
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Another fun fact: the roast of Wayspotters, so the final episode of season 1, is still the second most downloaded episode on Wayspotters.
And Lachlan, you did a great job with that. That was so fun. All the guests you had lined up that came in and roasted us. And I still think my favorite out of all of the roast was Fish and DeFi. I think that was my favorite because the banter that those two have going back and forth was just amazing. I loved everybody who did it. Thank you to everybody who did it. But Fish and DeFi, I don't know if they practiced that or if that came straight off the top, but they really knocked it out of the park. That was probably the funnest. What was your funnest memory from that roast of Wayspotters, Lachlan?
I had to do a deep side just for you, Jamal. I would have to say it probably it's probably a tie between what the British Incense Boys put together. They would have been first if La Casual showed up. And that was something they recorded in the middle of that year's Christmas show recording blocks that they were doing. So I so appreciate them for doing it. But I also really loved what the Roundtable duo sent in, because that was just something so special. And they were one of our very early duos that we had on at the same time. And that episode was chaotic. That early day chaos.
That's another one of the magic of podcasting. So Lachlan had to leave in the middle of that episode. He had something going on and had to leave. So we recorded the end of the show in the middle, and then we recorded the middle of the show in the end, and then I cut it all together. And if anybody out there hates the dad jokes, you can blame the boys from the Roundtable Chat Top, because that was the first episode that the dad jokes appeared in the break. So what I used to do to Lachlan would be making a point. He'd be making a very passionate point, and I'd throw a dad joke right in the middle of his point, and then he'd give me a heavy sigh and just kind of look into the camera. And this was before we were doing video podcasts, so nobody got to see these darts coming out of his eyes as he's making a legitimate point, and I throw a dad joke. So I thought, you know what? I got to be good to my broadcast partner. we're going to put the dad jokes in the middle of the episode when we take a break. And I had the guys from Roundtable Chat who are not dads. They just kind of give off the dad energy. They recorded dad jokes and we clumped them all together. And that was the very first time we ever did dad jokes. And it's kind of taken on a life of its own. So if you have a problem with the dad jokes, go listen to Roundtable Chat, subscribe to their Patreon, and tell them you don't like the dad jokes. And then we're going to keep doing them. All right. So speaking of episode 63, Chris, I know we just talked a little bit about the last episode of season 2 with the roast. And again, Lachlan, you did a great job with that. And I agree with you. The Incense Boys did a fantastic job putting it all together. But going back to episode 63, I forgot, Chris, I wanted to play this. And this comes to us from Mr. Lane the Main, who we had a fantastic time hanging out with in New York, him and his brother. And he also is the host. Yes, Good Morning Jodo. And I am a patron of Good Morning Jodo. And you should be a patron of Good Morning Jodo. Also, it's only $1 a month. He does a great job. He gets all of the news of Pokemon Go and puts it into about 8 to 10 minutes a day. And it's like that early news morning hit, like drinking your coffee. But he sent us a little message, and I'm going to go ahead and play that now. Here we go.
Good morning, Wayspotters. My name is Lane, friend of the Wayspotters show. Congratulations on finishing your second season. Now, we're talking about my favorite episodes of Wayspotters. Not only am I love all parts of Go, all parts of all the Niantic games, and I've really got into PvP and all these different things, and you can ask both of these wonderful, wonderful guys that I've loved getting into, and I try not to annoy them too much when we all get together, but there's some times that I just really love learning about Wayfinder, and they are the best ones. Both Chris and Jamal are just incredible. Now, my favorite episodes of the year. I've had to go through the calendar. I am really partial to what episode I'm going to call 83.5, because I'm pretty sure you can hear me not with a locked door in the bathroom. It's I know that I'm going to make too much noise when we were all together, and house was a little squeaky, we will say. So I'm like, if I fall down these stairs, all you're going to hear in the background is Chris and Jamal saying awesome Wayspotters thing and just dum, 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 and me falling down. So literally, I think I not lay in the bathroom, but I'm literally in the hallway. Like if I move and I make the giant noise, I don't want to be that guy. So I'm really partial to 83.5, just everybody getting in there talking about 12-minute episode, but I really like 84 just talking about everything because I remember we all had just a group of, okay, this is how we're going to conquer New York, and talking to them there at New York, like, how can the Wayspots be this way? How can everything be like this? And just really learning. So I'm really partial to 83.5 and 84. You can't talk about Season 2 of Wayspotters without talking about Episode 63. What a memorable year for them. This episode will be down in the history books. Episode 63 of Season 2.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Was episode 89.
I don't recall that one.
Unite with X Little Pound Cake. Found out just a wonderful ambassador, also in the greatest state of all, Ohio. And just, I love all the episodes of Wayspotters, but I really like jumping into the ambassadors because I do not have any ties to really Wayfair.
Ohio.
From all these wonderful community members is great. So if you didn't hear any of these episodes, those are my favorite ones. Shout out to Chris and Jamal just for being two just wonderful people, and keep up the good work.
Lane, thank you for sending that in. That is awesome. We've talked about our Airbnb in Union City, New Jersey during GoFest several times. For those of you who don't know, if I haven't mentioned it, Chris, you can chime in here. We totally got bait and switched. What we thought we were getting was not what we were getting.
Yeah.
It looked huge. It said it slept 10 adults. It didn't.
When
we had to go to Target. We had to buy air mattresses. Dude, Chris, myself, and a couple other people, we were walking around Times Square with these big, air mattresses come in these big boxes. I'm walking around Times Square carrying an air mattress. It was it's part of why you want to join the Patreon and you want to hang out with us at live events, because you get to sleep on air mattresses, 10 guys in one room. And Lane's downstairs with his brother, and Ken with Hairs upstairs, and Adrock's upstairs, and I don't remember who else was. I mean, it was a mess. So yeah, it was a mess.
It was a good time, and it was a mess, but it was a good time. I remember when I got there, like there was nobody there.
Call her.
When I got there was nobody there, and I'm like, "Am I at the right place?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
Alley, and I was just like, "I don't know. I think I'm gonna get. I don't know what's going on here." But no, it was a good time, and and that Lane, thank you so much for that. That was great.
Yep, that was really good.
I remember recording that little half episode there.
Yep.
And everyone in the house is just kind of like, all right, nobody wants to move because this house is just so loud.
Yeah, and we were going to try to record it at that table, but the acoustics were really bad. So I went upstairs to the bedroom, and I was on the floor with the mic, and I'm recording it, and I had one ear of the headphone off, and I could hear you down. It was like a delay. It was really weird. So yeah, it was very
weird. Yeah,
very, very weird. All right, keeping it moving. You want to talk about the number 2 and 3, or where you want to go from here?
Let's jump ahead to Lane mentioned his favorite episodes of season 2, and I wanted to kind of have a quick little discussion on my favorite episode, your favorite episode, and Lachlan's favorite episode. Mine was 64. It's got a little bit of a special place in my heart from season 2, being the first YouTube one that we kind of put together. And it's interesting going back and watching 64 and seeing how far that we've come, especially from the YouTube aspect of it. Like, especially the thumbnails. Like that first thumbnail was terrible.
The thumbnail game is good. Now it's got Easter eggs in it and everything. It's fantastic.
Not only that, but I think that was kind of like the episode out of season 2 that I think was the most helpful for most people.
Yeah,
right?
For
sure. That one's my favorite.
Yep, we get a lot of mail about that. My favorite episode of season 2, I think we talked about it, was Neckbeard Unite, episode number 89. I had such a good time just kind of chopping it up with her, and just kind of going back and forth on Twitter, and then recording the episode, and then all of the people just kind of came out of the woodwork that sent us messages about that, like, oh, this was so cool. And, that was my favorite episode. So I'm going to go out on a limb. And I may be wrong, but I'm going to guess that Lachlan's favorite episode of season 2 was one of his last ones. And it was the episode with Cricket. So before I let Lachlan talk, what you guys don't know is that episode lasted like 3 hours, and we aired like, what was it, like maybe hour and 15 minutes? There was probably a 45-minute stretch where we didn't talk about anything but sneakers and Kobe. And it was a great episode. Lachlan, am I close? Was that your favorite? Oh, and volcanoes, yes. Was that your favorite, Lachlan?
No. It's up there. Having listened to it more times than the average person, and each second of it more times than the average person, I could probably quote it if I was listening to it again. So, just because one can quote something does not make that person declare that they're favorite. Cricket's my favorite person we've had on, full stop, when I was co-hosting. That's 100% for sure. Just everything about her is just excitement, happiness, joy, and the way she supports everyone else and just does her whatever she can to raise the room,
Yep, for sure.
No one quite like her in the space with that energy level. But I probably have to say that the first one of the season.
Okay.
Because, we had big plans for the year. And I'm so happy to see Chris, fulfilling a lot of them. It's, it was the start of something, and it's sort of culminated now.
Yes.
That test stone recording, I think that was the first episode we recorded of season 2 was the test stone.
Yeah, it sure was. Yeah.
Which is why the test stone use blast has been used nearly every week since. So
yes,
there's just
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. There's lots of little lots of little tidbits.
I'm gonna go with 53.
Okay, good. I like it. 53 was good. I have not, to be honest.
Back to
I have
basics
not
as
gone
well.
back. Back to basics was good too. I need to go back and listen to a lot of the older episodes. Much like Chris, I feel that I get better in editing, and I listen to some of the old ones, and I'm like, "Oops, I missed that. Oh boy, I could have done this, and I could have done that," and I end up being more critical of the production than I do of the content. So it's tough to kind of go back and do some of the old ones because I'm like, why did I say that? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I shorten that pause to 1.5 instead of 2.3? And I end up just kind of picking it apart, not really enjoying the episode for what it was. So I haven't gone back and listened to or watched a lot of the old episodes, but I need to do that. So, Chris, now you have been killing the YouTube game, right? So when you came onto the podcast, you were like, "All right, man, I got this. We're gonna do YouTube. We're gonna blow the world up." And I'm like, "I trust you." You want to go over the final stats for season 2 for the YouTube views?
Yes. So YouTube, we had 2,797 podcast views. So that's just views on the podcast uploads, which is fantastic. It blows my mind that we had that many this year. 3,583 views on our Cole of the Week shorts.
Ooh,
so that's almost 4,000 views on just the Cole of the Week shorts. 2,070 Wayspot of the Week views on the shorts. Here's what blew my mind: the dad jokes on YouTube. That's why I didn't look at the TikTok stats, but just on YouTube, 4,768 views on the dad jokes. They kill it every week.
People love the dad jokes.
Get uploaded. People love the dad jokes.
People love the dad jokes. So I got to figure out how to get the dad jokes in front of more eyes. So they love the dad jokes. Yeah.
I think in season 2, because you can upload videos to Twitter now, I think that we should start uploading the shorts to Twitter as well.
Oh, yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
So
maybe we'll catch Elon's eye and he'll come on and I'll finally start calling it X and not Twitter. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah. 2,710 clips from the show views. And I stopped doing them when my other laptop went down because this laptop is just too much work, right? So as soon as I get my old laptop fixed, we're going to get back to full production value for the YouTube. Almost 22,000 views total.
Love it. I love it. That's amazing. And what was our biggest short?
Our biggest short? I actually had it queued here and I lost it. 1,776 views on that little short that I did about how when you ask me how many upgrades I have, and it's Puss in Boots going, I'm not really a math guy. That one blew up when I uploaded it.
That's so funny that was our biggest short. Because I was like literally, I was having an aneurysm during that time. And I'm like, what?
It's funny. I rewatched the short and it's like, I have almost twice as many upgrades now as I did then.
Man.
So
it's so unfortunate. I have 0 upgrades. I just used all my upgrades, but you know what? I don't care. The challenge got me caught up to where I'm good. I'm just like, hey, I'm just kind of floating around and I'm good to go here. And it's all good. So
at some point we need to have a conversation on whether or not upgrades are still going to be enough of a carrot going forward, because if Niantic gets to a spot where they've got this global 2-week turnaround, are upgrades really going to be the carrot that they are now for people?
That's a good point. Yeah. Right? If we get to the global 2-week turnaround, like Niantic won't need challenges and we won't need upgrades. So I can say that it's not a 2-week turnaround right now in Charlotte. So they have not hit that mark. It's still, it's not 6 months like it was, but it's not 2 weeks.
Yeah. My turnaround time is actually slower. I got a bunch of stuff that's been in voting for a while.
Oh, you poor thing.
Oh no!
Like
you might
December
have to start using some of those upgrades.
Yeah, I might. I got stuff in voting since December 8th. That's like almost a month.
Yep.
Wow.
All right. I want to go on to topic number 2 because Lachlan kind of brought something up that I wanted to talk about. So hold on. Let me do this here real quick.
Topic number 2.
So Lachlan talked about his favorite episode was episode 1 of season 2 because it was kind of the start of the Wayfarer resurgence, and he said it's kind of culminating now. But what I want to say for topic number 2 is what have we all accomplished, right? So I think at some point, nobody likes to hear people taking a victory lap. Nobody likes to watch somebody dislocate their shoulder, patting themselves on the back. But I think the three of us, over the course of the last 2 years, have managed to get the eyes and ears of Niantic on their game in specific areas that they wouldn't have had to have them on if we weren't here. And again, this is not us saying, hey, look at us, we did this, we did that, but we've been able to call out specific areas of the game. We've been able to physically talk to them. And what I put is, hey, Niantic, do we have your attention? We went from a concept, a break-in show on the Lured Up podcast to a full-fledged news and information podcast on the topic of adding to the Lightship map. We've given the explorers an outlet to hear about the game that they love. We've tried our best to keep our fingers on the pulse of the community. We've made true friendships with several ambassadors and many people in the community. We've made connections with people from the Niantic team, whether that's Tib, Tintino, Avocado, and then we met explorers at GoFest in Seattle and Niantic. And I think one of the more impressive things that we did is we launched the media career and the empire of Lachlan. He's gone from being on here on Wayspotters to being the co-host of his own podcast on the GoCast feed with Chris Starpiece. He's a regular,
not this Chris, a different Chris.
Different Chris. There's too many Chris's in the Pokemon Go Niantic podcast space, but Lachlan is a regular on Pallet Town PvP with Fish on a Heater. He's a reoccurring guest on the PvP corner, and you pretty much hear the guy
also
anywhere.
That doesn't really count.
Right. But you hear the guy everywhere. So I think what we did between the three of us is we brought a lot of eyes and ears and a lot of attention to certain things in the game that I think the player base thinks that are important, right? This is episode number 104. So 103 episodes prior to this, we're talking about things that people want to hear about. And Chris went over some of the numbers of the listens and the views. And I think people have shown by their participation that what we are talking about is things that they want to hear. We've set ourselves up for tons of feedback. Chris knows. I've gotten called out many times. Chris got called out early on for some things that we said. But the only way we get called out for things that we said is if people are listening and people care. And I think the one thing that I strive for is I care about Wayfarer. I care about Niantic games, and I want to make sure Niantic knows that it's just more than me and Lachlan and Chris that care about it, that there's a whole group of people out there that are like invested in this game. They listen every week, and they want Niantic to get it right. So that's what I think we've accomplished in our 2 seasons going into season 3.
Yeah, no, I agree. The relationships that kind of we built towards the second half, I think mostly the second half of season 2, directly having those meetings with Niantic in New York and furthering all of that kind of groundwork that you guys and Lachlan did in season 1, I think has been huge for us. And for me personally, because I wouldn't be here, without this podcast, and I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, and I think season 3 is going to be even better.
Yeah. Highlight of season 1, I think, was meeting Tintino, at least for me at GoFest. And you don't know how much fun Lachlan had poking at me when I took my picture with Tintino and we're holding up the shirt. And, that was fun. We had a whole bit. And, I did the song, We Don't Talk About Tintino. And then finally getting to meet him in Seattle. And I think the highlight of season 1.
Talk about Tintino.
Lachlan, the highlight for me of season 1 was when we were in Seattle and Niantic asked us if they could interview us about the map and about things going on in the game. And then we were on their website. I think that was kind of the highlight of season 1 was they were like, hey, you podcast guys, come here, sit down. We want to interview you. And then Chris and I had a similar moment in season 2. We walk up to the Wayfarer booth and we're like, hey, we know who you are. Excuse me? Oh, then there's that Shaq meme. I'm familiar with your work, and it was just kind of like, wow, I'm not just talking into this thing here. Like somebody's listening to it. They were like, oh, we know who you are. Come sit down. Let's talk. And I'm like, okay. So I really feel like the work that we put in, and it's not just talking into a microphone once a week. It's Chris and I and Lachlan and I before Chris brainstorming on what we wanted to talk about, coming up with the angle in which we want to talk about it, agreeing to disagree, agreeing to agree, all of these things that go into the work of putting a podcast together and having it be something that people want to come back and listen to over and over and over. And then, like I said in my little tease, setting Lachlan up to where he's gone on. And I think, Lachlan, you've been involved in a podcast in every facet of Niantic games. I think the only thing you haven't done a podcast on, and I might be wrong, is something about Ingress, but PvP, everything else you've been on a podcast. So I kind of feel proud that kind of an alumni of the Wayspotters podcast, I can turn on any podcast and I hear you doing a guest spot.
You never know when I'm going to show up next. It's always fun.
Yep. So it's cool. It's cool. So that's what I think that we've accomplished in season 2 and in season 1. And I'm very proud of that. And, for those listening, we got some fun things planned for this season, some really silly things planned for this season. We took a little airplane ride, and you'll hear that next week. And that's, yeah. And that's really funny and really silly. And should we tease that now, Chris, or should we just wait till next week?
Let's wait till next week.
All right, we'll wait till next week. So, it's really fun, and we've had a great time, and we put in a lot of work behind the scenes. So what you guys hear is really good, and we really appreciate everybody listening. So that's what I got. So I'm going to turn it over to Lachlan. I want to hear what you want to talk about now before we take a break and go to dad jokes.
Well, there's something near and dear to my heart, and I think a lot of people listening to this, especially those who are currently driving up to Charlotte, North Carolina, would agree with me, is that edits, the forgotten love child of Niantic Wayfarer. They keep talking about this 2-week turnaround time, but I keep getting emails from 2022 edits. So that's not 2 weeks, guys. I have a feeling, based on it seems to be going sequentially in order through 2022, that someone at Niantic is now manually trying to clear through the backlog. But still, or they've got a machine learning trying to clear through the backlog, but we need to talk about edits. And I'm not going to lie, I nearly put down Wayfarer forever when they announced that edits would not be coming to the contributions manager, because it makes no sense. Feel free to add in an expletive of your choice between the word makes no and sense, because they are your contributions to the game. You are contributing title suggestions, description suggestions, location suggestions, photo suggestions, and there is no way in game to request photo removals, which is baffling. Absolutely baffling, because the amount of times I'm adding photos to replace, pitch black nighttime ones that were, 10 plus year old white spots due to them being seed portals, and when it goes through Wayfarer, it says which of these should be added. And most people, rightly so, click do not take that black photo, that pitch black photo. And yet somehow it stays on the Wayspot. And I don't understand how, as a system, they've gotten that so wrong. So, gentlemen, let's delve into this rabbit hole, because I'm going to start. I started the season complaining about the contributions manager. I'm going to end the season complaining about the contributions manager.
You know, I think, Lachlan, that there should be an app that Wayfair could create where you could go in and see all of. Sorry.
If
No,
only.
if only. No, I agree with you. I mean, there are so many opportunities to fix things, and Chris knows this, and you know this from season 1. I just don't go in and fix stuff because it's so hard to fix anything in the game. They make it ridiculously impossible for you to do anything. I have a mural in my area that got painted over and it's completely different. And I went out and I took a new picture and I tried to edit the title and all this. And it was like, no. And I'm just like, why? The system needs a complete overhaul. Chris?
Yeah. So can you bring up the thing that I'm sharing?
Yes. Let's bring this up on the screen.
This is my spreadsheet. This is my spreadsheet that I have created to track my edits because I got tired of not being able to see them and not remembering which ones I had done versus which ones I hadn't done. So like this is all of my edits, when I submitted, how long they've taken, and like I had to go and put in, when you do a title edit, I had to put the new title in a separate box because when they send you an email saying, hey, congratulations, your title edit has been accepted, it sends you the email with the new title. So I could never, I look at it and I go, when did I edit that? And I'm like, oh, it's a title edit. Now I don't even remember which, like, so this is what I've had to do to keep track of.
This is unbelievable. Like, I remember back in the days of OPR, I had a spreadsheet, but this is unbelievable. I love this.
So like, the first while they were doing really, really good with pushing the edits through, and it was like 45 days, maybe a month before I was waiting, but like a lot of them are just like almost a year old. I'm still like 255 days I had to wait for that one.
Now, Lachlan, you're still getting ones from 2 years ago, right?
Yes. But just photo submissions, not any text or edits. And I don't really want to delve into the depths of my email history to try and find the oldest pending text edit. But that's what they're making us do. Because the other big issue is you submit a new photo, right?
Yep.
Say I'm in New York and I'm like, this is a horrible Wayspot photo. Let me improve it. I improve it. And then I can't thumb it because I don't live in New York anymore. And it's not an Ingress portal. It's just in Pokemon Go. So I can't, remote zoom in on the Ingress map to find it. Or it is an Ingress portal and the photo doesn't sync over.
Right.
So you can't thumb it up there. And there are so many issues around this process that at no point when there is the same amount of photos on it and they all have the same amount of votes or thumbs or however you want to apply that logic into which should be the primary photo in that game, does it prioritize the latest submission or the latest photo in a tie? Because let me tell you, that is so frustrating. And then there's no way to remove them without having to go in and go on the forum and say, Niantic, this Wayspot photo is outdated, and then submitting a bunch of photos, which you can only have from still being at the location, even though the photos themselves have timestamps on them, and you can see how old the photo is. So I should just be able to say, hey, can you clear out the old ones, please?
Yes.
Or the one that's in the middle of the night? Please provide us more evidence.
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more.
This is why people wanted this this is why people wanted these types of edits to appear in the contributions manager, so they're easier for us to keep track of, so that we can pass on to you to help improve your database, which currently there is a wall between. Because unless you magically have access to the Wayfarer app, which allows you to see all the hidden Wayspots, which is also getting depreciated, and I'm hoping that's just the nomination tools inside the Wayfarer app, But that's a conversation for a different week, right, Chris? It's probably the week when Jamal loses
Yeah.
his voice and you need someone to sub in for Jamal. We can just spend a whole 17 hours talking about what the app could have been and what it should have been. Even just for
Yes,
reviewing
100%.
sake, because giving people a link that just opens out from Campfire into the Wayfarer app and lets people go straight into reviewing. Or when you hit new Pokestop, it says, would you like to do this in-game and have a toggle, do it in-game, or take it as a hot link to the Wayfarer app? And
I mean,
if you
you're
all-
preaching to the choir. That is just a lovely idea.
And if it's taking you out of app, it can then say new Wayspot instead of new Pokestop, because I do understand that that's a line that the Pokemon Company don't want crossed. I get that. So that's why we take them out of the app.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There's
And
the heavy
it's so
side.
frustrating. Like, and we have, what was it, nearly a year and a half of emails coming to us saying, check the contributions manager to see the updates on this photo submission for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah,
for a
and
fact that there are community members who have written their own scripts that troll through their own emails, take the photos, and put them in a tab which they hodgepodged into the Wayfarer website with add-ons. I know there are community members who have done that. And that's them trolling through their emails. One would assume that these contributions are still linked to their system, because we know for a fact that Wayspots, even if deleted, still exist in the Niantic system, because if you were the original nominator, it's still in your Wayfarer history. So
Yep.
it is baffling to me that there can't be a toggle that just says list of nominated photo suggestions, and then a toggle that says list of nominated title edits, and it says what the title currently is of the Wayspot and what your suggestion was, and if it's been approved, it says both. If it's been approved and it's since updated again, it says what the new title of the Wayspot was, but what your approval was. And if they sent out an email, surely there's a timestamp attached to that email in their server end that can say when that was processed. And it would be great to know which of these suggestions are sitting in voting or in queue or, I don't know, limbo, because we can't flag the limbo stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so
the average
comforting.
player stops playing the game of Wayfarer before their edits are approved.
Yeah. That's fair.
It's so comforting to hear someone else saying this, because sometimes I feel like Chris and I we're just like old man screaming at a cloud. But Lachlan, I mean, you are 100% spot on, and this is one of those that they acknowledge they failed in the AMAs. But I just wonder behind the scenes why. Like, this is such a big deal to a lot of the player base. This isn't like some small thing. This is a big deal. And I just wonder, why is it getting deprioritized? We'll probably never know. Or what are they working on that's going to come out that they couldn't do this? I just don't understand it. I just, someone's going to have to explain to me like I'm 5.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to local Wayfarers who are like the three of us, who have basically submitted everything in our little local bubble, right? And we're having to go further and further out to submit things. There's the occasional new mural that pops up, but a lot of the time it's replacing existing mural, but it shouldn't be faster to request a remove and new submission than a photo edit.
Right.
That's another can of worms.
Yep. That's
But
that's a whole nother
what's
can of
left for
worms
us to do? New phones, new cameras, better quality cameras, is improve our local game boards. And this is the next logical step for experienced Wayfarers. You can review till the glows come home, Jamal, but you gotta work on your local player base as well, because just because you really are used to seeing that same photo on your nearby doesn't mean it's accurate anymore.
Correct.
A local player of mine, we got a local mural was updated. The old photo was 10 years old. We got the thumbs on it. Happy days. This was 8 thumbs we got on it. 2 days later, the old photo that's 10 years old of a different mural gets an extra 12 thumbs.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
That's frustrating.
And I'm sitting here like, do you want me to delete it or do you want it to stay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the aforementioned Saramanda.
Yeah, I feel sorry because that's what we want to do, and that's the natural next step if you're in an area for so long.
Yeah.
You spend 7 months being dedicated using all of your nominations every day. For most people, 700 Wayspot nominations is probably what you need in your area. And then once that's done, what's left?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Ken's
I said,
got this problem.
Yeah, in his area.
Ken's got this problem right now where he's trying to change the name of a Wayspot of a restaurant because the restaurant's changed, but it got denied because the photo is of the old restaurant. So I was like, you probably have to get the photo thumbed enough so that it becomes the primary photo. And then it's the photo that shows up in Wayfair, and then change the title, right? And that it shouldn't be that hard.
No, it really shouldn't.
And you shouldn't have to go to the forum to request a rejected edit reversal. There should be an option inside the Wayfarer support chatbot that says edits. That's all.
Yep.
Because edits aren't abuse. Edits aren't requesting 10 plus meters. Well, I guess some edits are. But for everything else, there should be a separate toggle for that.
Yep.
And
completely agree.
I don't know, because sometimes you don't want to post on the forum, please delete this Wayspot. Sometimes you don't want to post on the forum, hey, these photos are outdated, even though it has like 75 million thumbs because it was an Ingress portal key that was passed around because it had, a big green photo in the back of it. But, that doesn't meet criteria.
And then a lot of people don't want to go on the forum because they don't want to dox themselves. They don't want to necessarily let the whole world know you're trying to clean up your area. I think some anonymity there is preferred. I mean, like I've said a lot of times on here, I don't care about doxing myself. I think people know where I live. I don't really care. But if it was my wife, she wouldn't want it. We've talked about other people that have been on. They don't necessarily want to dox themselves. And if you are trying to remove some abuse, you don't want to put your out there as the guy who got all of these illegal Wayspots, because then everybody's going to go, hey, you took away my gym. You took away this. It's like, bro, it's not there. I don't care. Why'd you do that? You don't necessarily want to out yourself as the person that's cleaning up the game board. And we just want a way that we can go through, keep the game board clean like we talked about last week and move on. And then one of the things I was going to say is, like, we talked about Saramanda earlier. And by the time this comes out, I'm having lunch with Saramanda, and we will already have lunch by the time this came out. But her big thing is going back and taking new pictures, updated pictures of every possible Wayspot she can. And then she sends them to everybody in the Discord and say, hey, can you thumb this? Can you thumb that? And I think that's great because, Lachlan, like you said, there are some murals that are 10 years old, and the mural has changed 3 times since it was painted. Yes, there's a mural there, but it's got a new name.
Or it's been expanded, elaborated.
Right. And I think the best way to honor that,
evolve. They get facade updates, say there is the best Cantonese restaurant in Charlotte, just down the street from Jamal's place. I'm saying that because I know for a fact that that is not where it is. But you can look at that and say, great, this is a Wayspot. I nominate it. 8 years go by. They've got a new logo. They have changed the front windows to some stainless steel facade with, inside they've got some glass murals, and it's all really pretty, and you want to update the photo. But because everyone really loved that Cantonese restaurant, it has lots of thumbs in it. Right. We like Jamal. Jamal did a good job nominating this.
Yep.
And now you can't ask for the thumbs to be cleared. That's not an option. That's a question for a whole other ballgame, because there's the thumbs in Pokemon Go that you can't see that were on there in Ingress before Pokemon Go got access to do thumbs.
Right.
We love our invisible thumbs. And the arbitrary date of which those thumbs went over and got applied. You can't ask for those to be wiped. Don't ask me why. And the system is so clunky. Like, you tap a Wayspot. In Pokemon Go, you have to tap the dots, then you have to press the photos in the bottom right, and if you're lucky, you don't have to swipe between the photos.
Yep,
And
they
then
don't make it
sometimes
easy.
you say, I don't want my name appearing on my contributions. I've tapped that tab in the Wayfarer settings. Why is my name showing up on my contributions?
Yeah, that was a big thing
And
for a
there's
while.
no way to anonymously add contributions.
Right.
Like, you can add them in Pokemon Go if you're an Ingress agent primarily, or you can add them in Ingress if you're a Pokemon Go player primarily. But there's no, like, some people genuinely would rather not have people know, oh, I sent this gift to you in Pokemon Go or in Pikmin Bloom. And in Pokemon Go, that gift has a name on it. Oh, and you send me the same gift every day. And you submitted that Wayspot. Let me press the navigate to button. Or let me search the title of this Wayspot or the description because you're a good Wayfarer and you provide enough information in it so that I can find that object wherever you are in the world. Oh, look, I found your home. And there needs to be some levels to allow that anonymity to return. You need to have some levels that allow the people to control their edits, have agency over what they're doing in the game. Because, frankly, I'm going to say it like I'm a broken record. What's next step for you in your local area is clean it up and improve it. Give it a nice polish.
Yep.
Center those photos. And just use the iPhone 15 Pro Max camera versus the iPhone 3G camera it was originally submitted on. That's a huge quality difference.
Yeah.
You don't know how many fuzzy dashboard church pictures are in my area of seed portals, right? Or it's a out the car window of the post office. Those drive me nuts. It's a terrible picture. It's legal because it's a post office, but that was before we had the taken from a vehicle and it's not too far to get out of your car.
Before it was reviewed by the community, when it was reviewed by Niantic directly, and they just needed as many locations as possible to fill their game ports.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
Yes. That's pretty much what it was.
Well, or what, something else is a whole nother topic for another day. And Chris, we should probably tackle this. It's been on the forums a lot. The imports from Foursquare. People are big mad about that. Big mad. And I haven't looked into that a lot. I know that's primarily been in India. I know they did a North American one 5 years ago, I want to say maybe, but that's mostly been in India. But that's been a big subject of consternation. Is the Foursquare update. And I think what people are upset about that, Lachlan and Chris, is if they've done it in one place, they're going to potentially do it somewhere else. I mean, Australia could be prime location for that. They want to add to the Lightship database in Australia in areas where there's not. And they're just going to import a bunch of crap from Foursquare and just drop it in. So, that's something that we should probably talk to a few people and get a little more educated about it and try to address that.
If only they had an app where they could dump all this stuff and allow people to go and edit it before it appeared in the game.
Only there was an app for that. Yep.
All right. On that note, I think that we should take a break.
Okay.
Play some dad jokes and come back on the other side with some Wayspots and coal. Sound good?
Sounds good. Yep. Hit the music.
All right. We'll be back on the other side.
Are you serious? This again? It's season 3.
Did you hear about the teenager who failed their driving test? Yep, they thought it was a crash course. Why did the tourists feel disappointed upon seeing the Liberty Bell? Just wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Why don't other farm animals like playing basketball with the pigs? Because they're known to be big ball hogs. What did one candle say to the other candle? Hey, want to go out tonight? What's the best kind of music to listen to when you're fishing? Something catchy. What did the llama say to his other llama that was his date? Want to go on a picnic? I'll pack a lunch. Why did the man get fired from the banana factory? He kept throwing away the bent ones.
And welcome back from the break. Hope you enjoyed the dad jokes this week. We are going to jump straight away into Wayspot of the Week.
Get a beautiful example of what the Wayspotters podcast thinks you should be nominating. We proudly present the Wayspot of the Week.
This Wayspot of the Week I found in the Wayfarer discussion Discord from Nictero MT. This one was rejected and then appealed for 6 months before it finally got put into the game. And this is, because I love mountains, this is amazing for me.
That is beautiful right there. And it's got snow on it.
It's got snow on it. So there is a giant mountain in the background. This is in Crested Butte, Colorado. There's a giant mountain in the background. And in the foreground, there's a bunch of snow on the ground. And there is a rock covered with snow right at the center of it. So it looks like it's just a rock. But what it is, the title is Playground Climbing.
Is it secretly
Boulder.
Dwayne Johnson?
It might
Not
be.
quite.
It might be Dwayne Johnson doing some training for his return to the WWE. The description is fake boulder is made so people of all ages could practice climbing and bouldering with a soft landing. So what it is it's a boulder that's placed in the middle so people can practice rock climbing and not have to worry about plummeting to their death.
That is really awesome.
I'd love to see their supporting photo for this to see what they provided for scale.
Yes.
Yeah,
Outside of the
true.
mountain.
That would be interesting.
Mountain for scale.
But I've spent a lot of time in Colorado,
Mhm.
and my grandma had a place there for a while, and I've gone skiing there several times, and I absolutely love Colorado. I love that kind of western part of the world, or North America. Sorry, western part of the world, western part of North America. For the mountains and stuff. So when I found this, I was like, this is gorgeous.
I love it. That's great. That's a great Wayspot of the week. That is a great Wayspot of the week. And the thing that I like about that the most is that on initial look, you think it's just a natural feature, but that's why you read the description. And again, I would love to see what the supporting photo said, but it's a fake rock. It's you go and you practice, and it sounds like there's probably a mat or something down there where there's snow on top of it. So if you fall, you don't fall and hit rocks and break your neck and all that. So that's really good. And then the background couldn't be any better to have one of the Colorado peaks there. I'm really digging on that a lot.
Yeah.
Really
and
digging
this is
on
one
that.
of those things that they probably, if I were to nominate that, I'm 100% nominating that, knowing that I'm using an appeal, because that's
Yes, for sure.
People are going to look at that and go, no, it's a rock. I don't.
Right, for sure. So we should probably talk about something that's not that cool, and it's something that's completely the opposite of that, right?
Yes.
But we should probably do it in a throwback setting, right? Let's see what we can dig up from the archives here. Hold on, let me go through the archives. All right, Lachlan.
Fantastic.
That's your intro. Take it away, sir.
So, those who are looking at the video version of this will see that this is from the old review system. So this is something I found a few months ago, and I sent to someone saying, really? Because I have a feeling it's in their side of the world. I'm like, really? Was this you? And this is a cinema. And you might be thinking, oh, a cinema would make a great Wayspot, because it's a great place to be social. It's a great place to explore with your eyeballs different parts of the world. However, what they have done is they've nominated the individual room at the cinema. So you know how when you go to a cinema, it's not just, a lot of the time, it's not just one like seating hall. They chose number 6. That's the one that they're going to submit. And the best part of its primary photo, Jamal, and this is why I thought it would be perfect for today, is there is a live balding animal in a recliner.
There is. Yes, there's a live animal.
Primary photo.
Not the supporting photo, but the primary.
And this was back in the
photo.
day where we had 1-star options for live animal.
Yes, we did. All right. And we will go on to Cole number 2. And Cole number 2 is kind of cool. So it was brought to us by the co-host of the Special Conditions podcast, Justin, or Jay Will, or whatever you want to call him. And if you're not listening to the Special Conditions podcast, you should be. You can learn all about Pokemon Go TC or Pokemon TCG, VCG, all things, the card games, all kinds of stuff that I know absolutely nothing about. So they would know all about it. But Cole number 2 is, so what it is essentially, so if you're looking at the screen right now, and I'll do my best to explain it. You know how you're driving down the road, Chris, and there's like a traffic light, like a, red, yellow, green, and then next to the traffic light, there's like the name of the street that you're crossing over. That's what this is. Someone nominated the street sign, but it's not the street sign on the corner. It's the street sign that goes across the road. Possibly the worst place you would ever want a pedestrian to go, right in the middle of the road, to go and try to find, something to do with a Niantic game. Like, this couldn't be any more Cole-tastic than anything else. But I think the best part about this is that when you look closely at where they put the pin, I don't know if it's at their house or their place of business, but it is not where it's located. It's close, but
yeah.
And the title is Timberglen Trail at 3700 Franklin Road, and that's the name of the street. But it's something that you do not want people going in the middle of the road. It's why you can't do this. Like Justin was like spot on, like sending this, like this is definitely Cole of the Week material.
Yeah, absolutely. Terrible.
And I don't know if there's anything
in the middle of the street to spin it.
Yeah, you definitely don't want people going in the middle of the street to spin anything. So it looks like we lost Lachlan for a second here, and we're going to give him a.
He's waiting on his Wi-Fi to come back. This message.
He's waiting on his Wi-Fi to come back. Okay. When you have a global game and you have global guests, and so just for frame of reference right now for everybody listening, it is 5:30 Eastern time on the East Coast. Chris is on the East Coast. I'm on the East Coast, and that means it is 7:30 a.m. Oh, so it's 5:30 p.m. Friday afternoon. And in Australia, where Lachlan is, it's 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. So he's a whole day ahead of us. He's already finished up Friday. He's gone to sleep when he's woke up, and it's Saturday morning. And so, we're doing this podcast long distance. And, we had a couple of internet issues here or there, but we definitely do thank Lachlan for making a return to Wayspotters, and we really appreciate it. And, the internet going out and this dropping off is probably fitting, the fitting way that the handoff happened, because unfortunately, when Lachlan retired, we weren't able to have a smooth handoff from Lachlan to Chris, and the show's going to end without a smooth handoff from Lachlan to Chris. So I think it's kind of appropriate the way that it's going. So
it is definitely a microcosm of season 2, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So Chris, if you want to go ahead and take us home, we can catch up with Lachlan later, but I do want to thank Lachlan, and I do want to say this. Lachlan's friend of the show will always be a friend of the show. If you want to follow Lachlan, he is the co-host of the podcast called Star Piece. It is on the GoCast podcast feed, and it's a interview show with people in and around the Pokemon Go space. It's hosted by Chris and Lachlan, not this Chris, another Chris. There's like 5 different Chris's in the podcast world, and they do a show roughly once a month, twice a month, and they talk about everything related to the game with some of the creators and people you need to know. You can also find Lachlan on Pallet Town PvP with Fish. They've got their Twitch channel. Lachlan is one of the mods in the Discord. He has been known to be on the Whale Lords podcast, and you can find him a little bit of everywhere. He pops up on shows here and there, And that's where you can find Lachlan, and you can always email him, and we will make sure all of Lachlan's links are in the Discord. And a lot of you are already friends with Lachlan in the game, and you continue to be. And I think we have him back. We do. We have Lachlan back. Yay. We have Lachlan back. It looks like you're in a different room. We were just, or in a different laptop. We were just talking about how when you have a global game and global guests, things will happen around the globe. So, Lachlan, we were just getting ready to sign off, but we want to give you this time to say hellos to all of the Wayspotters that you haven't talked to in a while since the last time you were on the air. And please plug everywhere where we can go and find you. I tried to do the best I could with all the podcasts that you're on and Peloton PvP. But if you would please give your closing remarks and plug everywhere where people can go and find Lachlan and to hear and see your pretty face.
So you can find me over on the GoCast podcast. I am their fifth host. For a couple of weeks there, my Discord name was GoCast Lachlan because one of the shows I guested on used our Discord names and was a call through Discord. So that was a bit of fun. And I was representing the team there. Most recently, Kyle was out with some dental work, so I subbed in for him on last week's episode of the main GoCast podcast. And I think Chris and Kyle are very appreciative of the fact that there is now someone just waiting in the wings if they need it, because their timelines are harder to sync up. You know, that now that we're out of the global pandemic period and everyone has their lives sort of falling back into place, it does get difficult to try and corral someone who works days and someone mornings and days and someone who works afternoons and nights to be free at the same time. So that's a lot of fun. And obviously the Star Piece podcast is a part of the GoCast podcast, much like PvP Corner. It's all on the one feed and is a video-based podcast on Spotify and YouTube. And you can find that at the GoCast podcast channel. Recently, if you want 5 hours of Lachlan talking, among other people, the Bulba Garden hosted their 2023 wrap-up, where we talk about everything in the Pokemon world, not just Pokemon Go. So if you've wanted me to talk more about the whole Pokemon franchise, that's what you can check out. And the VOD of that is available on their Twitch and on their YouTube. And I believe there is audio versions available somewhere, but you can find the Bulba Garden, and that's the host website of Bulbapedia. So that was a huge honor. Chris was going to join me that day, but however, Christmas festivities just in time zones made that a little bit too difficult to arrange. But that, you know, sitting in a Twitch chat for 5 hours, Jamal, now that's something. That's fun. And as Jamal mentioned, I am one of the main admins over at Pallet Town PvP. I definitely lurk in the background there more than I used to. Pallet Town PvP is set up by Fish on a Heater also from GoCast. And it's a place where anyone can get their start. And if you have any questions or want to start learning about PvP, it's a good jumping on point. Or if you even just want to be a starting off streamer and you want to start streaming your sets, Fish is more than happy to bring you on and have you sort of experience what it's like to interact with a chat while tapping, see if it's a thing, and maybe you get a regular time slot if that's something you want to do with an established audience. So on Twitter, it's still Lachlan Edfi. That hasn't changed. Discord, it's still, I think it's just, did I manage to snag Lachlan Firth as the unique Discord UI? I think I did. So you can search just for Lachlan Firth, all one word, as my Discord username if you need to send me anything. I exist in the Wayfarer discussion Discord as well. You can find me in there, at message preferably, and the lovely Wayfarer Facebook page, which Jamal had the amazing admin from just a few weeks ago on here. And if Jamal likes to tag me in that and say, see, you too can add to my Facebook notification list. But yeah, I've been disengaged with Wayfarer over the last 11 months, largely because of the issues with contributions. But I still dabble. Like the last couple of review challenges I've participated in. The last one I didn't meet the hurdle to receive worldwide rewards, but the one before it I most definitely did. So I'm branching out into other aspects of life, and I think Chris has done an amazing job subbing in for me and jumping in the deep end, literally, with their first full episode that they did. So it's good, and I'm happy to see where this is going and continues to grow. And there's probably a lot of people listening to this who hadn't heard me before, and that's what you want. You want it to keep evolving, you want it to keep changing, and you want people to accept the realities of the past, but also move on and look forward to the next chapter of life. Because if you come to expect the same thing every week, you know, that gets a little bit boring over time. And I think bringing Chris on is a breath of fresh air. And really, you know, I couldn't have asked for someone better to take over. I was a bit worried when I had to leave, and that was my big concern: is who will Jamal be able to find to take over? Because and listeners, you heard me then. I was not in the right headspace to keep going on with the show, and sometimes you have to put yourself first. There is a whole episode where Jamal's audio is basically lost, where it's just me talking about the importance of putting yourself first every now and again. And it's okay to miss a day. Like over the Christmas break, this is going to break some listeners. I broke my catch and spin streaks 4 times over the Christmas break. They're no longer in sync. And it's okay to take a break from the game. It's okay to take a break from Wayfarer. And when you're ready to jump back in, it's there waiting for you. And that's what's important. And the UI changes with the yes, no, maybe. Oh, it's a godsend. And I know it's thumbs, but it's yes, no, maybe. And it will always be yes, no, maybe to me. And I can't wait to see what other changes they bring to the review interface to make it more user-friendly. But 2024, huh?
Yeah, 2024. Lachlan, thank you for that.
I will be going to Hawaii for the World Championship for Pokemon Go this year, whether as a spectator or as a competitor. We'll see how I go in Melbourne in 2 weeks.
Right.
But if you're looking for me traveling internationally, that's your best bet. But if you're from the United Kingdom, I will be in the United Kingdom and Scotland for the last couple of weeks of April, first week of May. So reach out to me and we might be able to meet up, because I'm looking for things to do, and locals know their areas best.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Lachlan, thank you very much. Like I said, we really appreciate you coming back. You know, you are more than welcome at any time. If you need to get the edits and the app off your chest and you just need 15 minutes to come on, just give us a buzz. We'll bring you on. And
at 2 a.m., my time, your normal recording slot. I can't sleep. Jamal, are you recording? I need to vent.
Here's the deal. I'll send you a link. We'll get on, or you can just call the hotline and we'll play it. One way or the other, we'll get it out there. Right, Chris?
We'll get it on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. We got to get these people back out to their Sunday. Chris, you want to go ahead and close us out?
Yeah. First, I just want to say thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. It's big shoes to fill, taking over for you. And I was not going to lie, very nervous when I started. So hearing your kind words is definitely warms my heart, and I really appreciate it. On that note, thank you everybody for joining us on this episode of Wayspotters. We really appreciate it. A big thank you goes out to our executive producer, KatettheKonz, all of our patrons. Thank you very much. We could not do this without you. Huge thank you to Lachlan for joining us this week. It was a lot of fun, this episode. Definitely a lot of fun.
Oh, Chris, on that note about KatettheKonz, hold on, I have something for you.
This is KatettheKonz, executive producer of the Wayspotters podcast, and I support the rant of the week.
There might be something you might be hearing in season 3.
Nice. I like very much. Very nice. If you enjoyed this episode of Wayspotters, there are a few ways that you can show us. You can follow us on Twitter at Wayspotters, and on Instagram at Wayspotters Podcast. Also on TikTok at I Make Wayspots. We are incredibly responsive and love interacting with our followers. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. You can also visit our website at wayspotters.com. From there, you can get the links to everywhere you download the show. You could also send us a message directly from the website or email us, wayspotters@pokemonprofessor.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, click the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. For those of you who are not, we post shorts, dad jokes, Wayspot of the week, quote of the week, and more. YouTube.com/@Wayspotters We are up to 181 subscribers on YouTube, so make sure to go and check us out. Leave us a voicemail on our hotline, 704-426-3710, or tweet us a voice message. You never know, your voicemail may appear on an upcoming episode of the show. Finally, if you're not a member of the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon, you can join us for as little as $1 US a month. Check out Patreon for the conversions and stuff. That's at patreon.com/Pokemon Professor. You'll have access to the Discord for the entire family of shows across the Pokemon Professor Network, including Wayspotters, Special Conditions, Gotta Watch 'Em All, Purified Podcast, and Lured Up. It is a fantastic place filled with fantastic people. Jamal and I are active in that Discord a lot, so come and hang out with us. We would love to have you. With that, we look forward to you joining us again next week for the first episode of 3. Wayspotters, we appreciate all the support we get each week. And remember, it's not that far. Get out of your car.